Fly ball left field. Back is Profar to the wall. It's gone! Juan Soto has put the Nationals on top in the 8th.
Ahead of the 2022 season, Juan Soto was the consensus favorite to win the National League MVP. The 23-year-old phenom was coming off a second-place MVP season, so winning the MVP was certainly doable. Well, not only did he not win, the player who did win, Paul Goldschmidt, was a major sleeper candidate as he had plus 4,500 odds to win the award. It was a similar story for Aaron Judge, as despite having plus 1,800 odds, he ended up producing one of the best seasons in modern baseball history. All of this is to say, it's tough to predict MVPs. If anything, it proves how impressive Jolly Olive's Cy Young picks have been over the past couple years. Last year, I tried the same thing, as I made the argument that Kyle Tucker was the dark horse candidate for American League MVP. That didn't come to fruition, so this year I've gone back and forth on how to approach this year's dark horse MVP pick. Obviously, by the title, I chose Austin Riley, but before I talk about him, I want to talk about the other players I considered. To start off, I knew that I was going to pick a National League player, not just because I picked an American League player last year, but because I believe the American League MVP race is much more crowded. This is because of 3 players: Ohtani, Trout, and Judge. Then once you consider guys like Alvarez, Ramirez, and Rodriguez, this MVP race will be tough for any dark horse candidate. Still, there's a player I want to highlight: Corey Seager. According to Sports Info Solutions, Seager lost 25 hits to the shift in 2022, 10 more than any other player. The combination of a shift ban and his elite hitting potential as a shortstop makes Seager a very intriguing candidate. But overall, I just don't see a realistic dark horse MVP candidate this year. So, let's check out the National League. I believe if a dark horse MVP candidate has a chance to win, he needs to be on a playoff team, like Goldschmidt last year. So after some digging, I came up with a list of 6 players. JT Realmuto is the best catcher in baseball, but he's the least likely candidate here, as only 2 catchers have been named MVP in the 21st century: Joe Mauer and Buster Posey. Xander Bogaerts has been one of the most consistently elite players of the past 5 seasons, and now he plays in a lineup that should allow him to see more pitches than ever before. Although the odds he outperforms Soto, Machado, and Tatis are very low. So, now we're down to 4 players, 2 Mets and 2 Braves. Let's start with the first baseman, Pete Alonso and Matt Olson. They are both great players with similar player profiles. Still, not only are they competing with former MVPs Paul Goldschmidt and Freddie Freeman, first basemen are held to a higher offensive standard than other positions in order to make up for their perceived low defensive value. While I believe Olson and Alonso both have great offensive potential, I'm not confident they surpass both Goldschmidt and Freeman, nor the other leading candidates in other positions. Okay, now it's time to talk about the 2 players I continuously debated: Austin Riley and Francisco Lindor. To be honest, this video was originally planned for Lindor, but the more I thought about Lindor actually winning the MVP award, the less I saw it actually happening. In 2022, Lindor had his best offensive season in quite a few years and continued showcasing his elite defense. He had a total F-WAR higher than Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve, Mookie Betts, and notably, Trey Turner. Turner has been labeled a favorite to win MVP due to his unique power and speed combination, making his offensive potential arguably the highest of any shortstop in baseball. Combine this with his solid defensive ability, and Turner is a complete player. But this is where the dilemma comes in. Lindor has consistently been a top-tier defensive shortstop for his entire career, but offense is always going to be king in these MVP discussions. Lindor hasn't showcased an MVP-level offensive performance since 2018, when he hit 38 home runs, stole 25 bases, and had a 132 OPS+. However, this was 5 years ago, and while I think a 30 home run, 20 stolen base season is still a possibility, the decline of his hitting profile shows he's not the same hitter he was 5 years ago. Now there's 1 player left, Austin Riley. Just off first glance, you can see Riley's StatCast hitting profile has gradually improved throughout his young career, but his 2022 numbers were unreal. Immediately, you see top-tier exit velocity, hard hit rate, and most notably, barrel rate. Barrels are a classification given to batted ball events whose combination of exit velocity and launch angle have led to a minimum 500 batting average and 1500 slugging percentage since StatCast was implemented in 2015. In Riley's case, 15.7% of his batted ball events were classified as barrels. The only qualified hitters above him were Judge, Alvarez, Schwarber, and Ohtani. Now, to be clear, stats like these aren't the end-all be-all. For example, while American League MVP Aaron Judge crushed the ball harder than everyone, National League MVP Paul Goldschmidt was further down the list, and I don't think anyone is claiming Adolis Garcia is a better hitter than Goldschmidt. Ultimately, what these numbers do is help get a sense of a player's hitting profile. In Riley's case, he's the prototypical elite power hitter. The combination of a high exit velocity, a great line drive rate, and the increase in fly ball rate proves why his barrel rate is the way it is. Comparing his offensive StatCast rankings to his third base peers and MVP rivals, Nolan Arenado and Manny Machado, Riley seems like the best hitter of the bunch. Sure, his plate discipline needs some work, but at only 26 years old, he's proven to be an offensive phenom. So, with that being said, why did Arenado and Machado have better seasons than Riley? Well, remember what I said. StatCast numbers are not the end-all be-all. Like Riley, Machado was in the elite tier of exit velocity, but he didn't have a barrel rate you'd expect. Perhaps this was due to a shift in hitting philosophy. Machado had a more aggressive approach in 2022, resulting in less fly balls, but also the 5th highest line drive rate among qualified hitters. Line drives are classified as such when the launch angle is between 10 and 25 degrees. Given Machado's decrease in fly balls and the fact the line drive can't be classified as a barrel unless it has an exit velocity of at least 99 miles per hour, a number that also decreased for Machado in 2022, it makes sense why his barrel rate decreased as well. With all that being said, line drives still result in more hits than any other type of batted ball, and that's why Machado had the best offensive season of his career. The same can be said for Nolan Arenado, who produced a very similar season to Machado, but in a much different way. Arenado's strength is his ability to control the strike zone. While his walk rate is average at best, his strikeout rate was top 10 in the league. This top 10 features some of the league's most contact-oriented hitters, such as Luis Arraez, Steven Kwan, and Nico Horner. However, what makes Arenado different from a normal contact hitter is his incredibly low ground ball rate, the lowest of 2022. He succeeds because he tries to hit line drives and fly balls more than anyone, giving him the highest average launch angle of 2022. While he doesn't hit the ball very hard nor possess a high barrel rate, his ability to control the strike zone with low strikeouts and high contact allows him to succeed. Now you see why Arenado and Machado had superior offensive stats over Riley. Still, it's not like Riley is too far behind them, and at 26 years old, he should only get better. In fact, if we include 2021 and 2022, Riley is not only on par with them offensively, only one National League player had a higher B-WAR in this 2-year span, and that's Paul Goldschmidt. Riley certainly has the potential to surpass both these guys offensively. However, defense is a different story. It's easy to say he just needs to become a better defender, but you can't assume that's going to happen. Although there's reason to believe his hitting ability alone could be enough for an MVP caliber year. As he's shown when he gets on a hot streak, it's nearly impossible to stop him. In July 2022, Riley was the best hitter in baseball. Not only that, he broke Henry Aaron's franchise record for most extra base hits in a month with 26. Also, he was the first Brave with a 1300 OPS and 10 home runs in a single month since Chipper Jones in 1999, his MVP season. Jones, who currently serves on the Braves coaching staff, said back in 2019 he thought Riley would be a Troy Gloss type of hitter. Gloss was a very good power hitter in his time, but now Jones thinks Riley's ceiling is higher. To reach the ceiling, he needs to continue improving his plate discipline. Well, like his defense, it's easy for me to just say that. But Riley possesses something that underlies the stats: an unbelievable work ethic, as described by Braves hitting coach Kevin Seitzer. "It's been instilled in me," Riley said. "You can't take anything for granted. I know there's always something that can be improved." This is how he went from having a strikeout rate over 36% in his rookie year to 23.8% in his sophomore season. Riley credits this drastic improvement to former Braves minor league hitting coordinator Mike Brumley. In particular, Brumley helped Riley shift away from the mindset of hunting specific pitches or locations to a more holistic view of each pitch and each at-bat. In fact, baseball writer Keith Law said this dramatic overhaul of Riley's approach leading to success in such a short span of time is something he hadn't seen before. Riley went from plate discipline that threatened to send him back to the minors to plate discipline that has unlocked his natural potential with the bat. As for 2023, Riley has continued to try new methods for improvement. For example, this past offseason, he went to a performance lab that specializes in bat fitting. In other words, finding the perfect bat that brings the most out of a player. While this is popular in golf, this is a fairly new concept for baseball, but it's a practice that's been rising in popularity over the past couple years. As Riley put it, why wouldn't you get all hooked up to see what fits best for you? I feel like the best hitters are always trying to find that little bit of an edge. Also, Riley started working with a mental skills coach to better manage the ups and downs of the long season. Learning to deal with mental struggles is important, especially when trying to stay consistent through 162 games. And Riley understands consistency is key. Specifically, he noted a period in 2022 where he cooled off following his historic hot streak. However, the desire for a more sound mind is worth more to Riley than individual accolades. It's about sharpening the mind to be a better teammate and to win more games. Overall, from the hard hits and barrels to the willingness to try new emerging training methods, Riley embodies the modern-day slugger. Still, in order to become a true MVP candidate, he needs to surpass his third base peers, among a few other players too. Although, even if he does improve in 2023, there's no way to predict how other players are going to perform. Remember, Paul Goldschmidt was a bigger long shot of winning the MVP in 2022 than Riley is right now. Nonetheless, at 26 years old, Riley has all the tools necessary to become an MVP candidate at some point in his career. Whether that happens this season is impossible to predict, but I don't think it's unlikely. And I will say, don't be surprised if by the end of the year, Austin Riley's being interviewed on MLB Network with a new piece of hardware to his name. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching.